Sutam Devam Kamsacharuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Thou, son of Vasudeva, the supreme bliss of thy mother Devaki, the destroyer of the forces of Kamsa and Chanura, to thee, O Krishna, as Guru of the world and as God, we salute. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 23 to 25. We have subtitled it Henotheism. We will explain it as we go over. It's those who have been following the thread of this chapter, the way it started off with different types of worshippers and different types of worship. There are those who, not knowing the supreme nature of God, deride the avatar, that it's not possible, they say. And the Lord keeps on speaking about the different types of people, those of vain hopes and vain desires and vain faith and vain knowledge. They're senseless and they become possessed of the deceptive dispositions. Because for them, this world of the senses is the only thing that is valid, viable, secure, and everything to them. And we know what this external world is. But those who, taking the theistic viewpoint, the great souled ones, they worship God with a one-pointed devotion. And constantly worshiping them and endowed with devotion, they worship God as through the sacrifice of knowledge. And the sacrifice of knowledge consists of seeing God as non-different from oneself, seeing that same God in multiforms. So this is the sacrifice, the worship through knowledge, that he or she or it, the reality, which is equal to divinity, is everywhere. And then the Lord keeps on speaking about the essential elements of the sacrifice as himself. Aham kratu, aham yagnya, swadha, etc. I am kratu, I am the yagnya, I am the mantra, I am swadha, all these various mantras that are. I am the oblation, I am the fire, I am the act of offering, I am the father of this world, the mother, the grandfather, the knowable. And then he makes a distinction between the various types of worshippers, and he comes now here. Even those who, being devoted to other deities and endowed with faith, worship those deities, they also, O son of Kunti, that is Arjuna, they worship me alone, though following the wrong method. Here, now what? Avidhi Purvakam, that is, they don't follow the correct method. Now, I remember a long time ago, when first I had been to Calcutta, and then I was just passing down these main streets, and I seen at every corner of the street, there were these temples. And I glanced at them, I said, really, these guys are so imbued with the devotion to Kali, and they are worshipping Kali all over the place. And see temples and temples under the trees, under the bridges, on the roads, and everywhere. And people lighting candles and all that. So I was trying to kind of speak about my kind of great impression about this devotion to another monk who was there with me. He's saying, you're new here. Look closely, whether it's Kali or something else. I said, what do you mean, Kali? I go and look. Okay. It appeared Kali because black figure and this and that. But it was this god called Shani, Saturn. It's more like a kind of a minor deity. It's a planet, Shani. And Shani is a kind of a god, a demigod or semi-god, whatever, who creates all the troubles in your life. So better to appease this god than go and worship Kali. She's the big troublemaker. Kept me thinking, oh yeah, people giving up the real worship, they do worship this because of innumerable troubles and innumerable sufferings. Human life is such a complex, you can say, system. There are so many factors. I said, exactly, it's a system. Life is not life, my life. It's a whole system. And there are so many known factors, so many unknown factors affecting you. You're simply overwhelmed. You don't know what hits you where and when and how. So that's the reason why the Lord says, even those who being devoted to other deities and endowed with faith, of course, you've got to, when you're worshipping, you need to have a minimum degree of faith in their existence. And only when you have that faith in their existence can you pray, and then you know that, okay, it's not going to be a waste of time. They worship me, the Supreme Godhead, but without the proper form. So, what is Henotheism? Worship of a single supreme deity, a god. Okay? While acknowledging the existence of other gods. That is what it is. It was coined by German Schilling a long time. In fact, I thought it was Max Muller who coined the word, but I researched it and found it was wrong. It wasn't Max Muller. It was Alfred Schilling. So he coined the word Henotheism. Theism. Theism is the belief in God, of course, as a creator, as the, you can say, protector, as an intervener. And we know how he intervenes, he or she or whatever. All trouble all over the place. Okay. So, yeah, that is one problem with theism, the intervening God. So then there's pantheism, there's polytheism. Pantheism is God is equal to the manifested world. There is no one supreme being, but everything is a manifestation of that divinity. So everything. So it rose, it's a very ancient, you can say, system of theology. It rose from animism and all these old forms of worship. where everything was animated. Anima is the soul, if we know. No? So that's the idea. So everything had, so that was pantheism. Polytheism, poly is many. So this is henotheism. There is a supreme God, and yet there is an acknowledgement of the existence of minor deities. This is what is henotheism. Yepyanya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mameva kaunteya yajantya vidipurvakam. Avidipurvakam. Vidhi is the proper form. Avidhi is improper form. They're doing it with improperly. So why? Like we say, okay, we embody the spirit, okay, but most of the times our words don't match our actions, and we embody divinity. We've got to be extremely careful of what we say and do and think. Only then will your thinking and saying and doing will become divine. There's always the huge, you can say, gap between what you believe in and what you practice in. So these guys, they are endowed with faith. They are, okay, these are the deeds. So God not only is embodied in everything and in human beings and animals and birds and plants, and even they have souls. A poor soul. No, there's no such thing as poor soul. There's a soul. Okay. So even they have souls. It's all ensouled divinity. This includes all the unseen realm of the gods and goddesses, etc. Even they embody that supreme deity. This is the fundamental difference between the Indian idea of henotheism and the classical, you can say, explanation of what is henotheism. Okay. So this is what he's saying. Ye api anya devata bhakta. Those who are devoted to the different other deities. The devata, the word deva, as we have mentioned in our last talk, it comes from the word devas. The same word is dios, theos. So it's the same. It's an old Indo-Aryan group of languages saying the same thing. And the devas is the shining ones, the bright ones. They are called the devas. So in the Vedas, we have the worship of all these shining ones, these gods. It's not only these gods there outside in a particular location. Vedanta brings them back in and says even the sense organs and all the functions of the body are due to the shining ones. So they have their counterpart outside as well as inside. Obviously, that is how Indian religion and philosophy works. You just cannot have something which is outside, as they say, and say that is separate from the inside. And this is the mistake a lot of theologians make. Not only theologians, all the scholars they make. They blunder. They have got static ideas of dualism and saying we are separate and everything else is separate. No. There is a unification on all levels. If there was no unification between me and the environment, I would die. Yeah. Simple as that. Where will I get air to breathe, and where will I get food to eat, and where will I get water to drink? So my existence is as an otaprota, completely wrap and roof, embedded in this outside world, the external world. Similarly, every aspect of my existence also is like the wrap and roof of the divinities also. If they are there outside, they've got to be here inside. So this is the view of the Vedanta. Okay. So those who separate those particular gods, single them out of the pantheon, and single yourself out of the pantheon of the complete existence that we are embedded in. And then they worship those singled out deities, and with my singled out devotion, with me singled out, I worship them. So that's what the Lord says. Even if they worship them with faith, they are worshiping through something which is deficient. What is the deficiency? Knowledge. The knowledge that you can't single out a single entity and worship and pray and sacrifice without that prayer and sacrifices and worship being extremely limited, because it does not encompass the whole. So that's why they say, Tepi, even they, Mameva, they worship me. Because that supreme being is the soul of even the gods. Yeah. Gods and demons and everything. So if you don't acknowledge that supreme entity, and you single them out, single these deities, and they're teeming. We have 33 million gods and goddesses, so we've got plenty of time, plenty of this. Yeah, no, kind of in the Yajnavalkya, a dialogue between great scholars in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. They say, how many gods are there? And he says, 33,000 something. Then they say, how many gods are there? 33. How many gods are there? 3. How many gods are there? 1.5. How many gods are there? 1. How many gods are there? There are no more gods. There's only one God. So they kind of telescope. They're trying to show how things are telescoped and coming down to the very kind of basic things. This is how Indian religion works. Okay? But there are those who want a kind of a provisional, you can say that. They're saying instant gratification. People want instant gratification. I don't care if I get gingerbread in heaven, but I want bread here. I'm hungry. So no, you don't have to worry about all these things. You'll get gingerbread there. No, I don't want gingerbread there. So delayed. Nobody wants to delay their gratification. We want it now. And these are the guys who are the now. We want it now. So they worship God avidipurukam, without that proper form. And then the Lord speaks, saying, how do you say that they worship God ignorant, those very deities ignorantly? How come? They are worshipping those particular deities, Agni, Vasus, Rudras. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. They are worshipping them knowingly. How do you say that they are worshipping those deities ignorantly, unknowingly? The Lord says, I indeed am the enjoyer, as also the Lord of all sacrifices. But they do not know me in reality. Therefore, they fall, they stumble, and they are crushed. Aham. So the Lord says, Aham, I. Aham, He, verily. Sarva Yajnana, in all sacrifices. Bhokta, the enjoyer, the experiencer. And also the Lord, Prabhu. So we had seen how he says, I am the mantra, I am the oblation, I am the fire, I am everything. Without me, there's nothing. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the one gives value to all this, a series of zeros. You take one off and everything else will become useless. That's a paradox. You put one and everything becomes valuable. It has value. So you put God in everything and you find everything perfectly falling into place. So everything that you think and do and talk in your life, everything, every moment of your life now becomes valuable when you put in that entity. That's the one. Sri Ramakrishna was beautiful, you can see, teaching. So he's saying, I indeed am the experiencer as well as the Lord of the sacrifice. No, we are not just talking about these old fire sacrifices. It's just every act of life should be a sacrifice. And this had been intuited by humanity millions of years ago. Even in a hominid, you can say, state, we understood the meaning of what is sacrifice, because you can't live without sacrificing. You sacrifice your ego, you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your energy, you sacrifice your happiness, you sacrifice everything. And what do you get? Yeah, you get something. And we have experimented with this concept of sacrifice, which is instilled in us. Maybe it's a fabric of the mind, that if you sacrifice anything for anyone, you're going to be rewarded. That is the idea. And what is the central, you can say, entity in all these sacrifices? Are sacrifices in vain? No. I am the experiencer and the Lord of all sacrifices. This is what it is. So there is an entity that watches and gives reward, because we need to understand that there has to be consciousness that impels everything. When I use the word God, because of our training and culture, a kind of a form comes with the hands and feet, maybe with 4 hands and maybe 20 feet, or maybe 50 stomachs, or maybe 100 heads. Think of it as consciousness. See, we are so bound to think in our in our groove. We just cannot. The moment we hear the God, and suddenly you find some pale blue or black or green or with a long beard and so on. What's this? This is meant for kindergarten. When you go to the kindergarten, you're learning the alphabet. And then as you keep on graduating, you don't say, I'm going to learn the alphabet only. I'm going to stick to that. No, you've got to graduate, keep on graduating, keep on growing. And if you stick to your old kindergarten beliefs, then you as consciousness have not evolved. You are still in the kindergarten of religion. So as you keep on evolving, that word God has a different meaning. So this is the idea. So we say, I, as consciousness, am the experiencer as well as the Lord of all sacrifices. They do not know me. Natu mam avijanati. They do not know me. What? In reality, tattvena. So, yeah, we know God. God must be somewhere in that heaven. I won't go to that heaven. Maybe I'll go for that kind of God in that heaven. That's a better God. So many gods and so many heavens. Good. Let's have variety. So, but that's not knowing God in truth, in reality. So that's the reason why he's saying tattvena. In reality, they do not know me in reality. Because they've got fanciful ideas about God, and they've learnt all these things from and listened to people, preachers, and you can say all these guys preaching their own brand of religion. And what happens is, as a result, they fall. Now the commentator says, what do you mean fall? Well, you see, when you have, through faith, have worshipped a particular deity, you will get rewards. There's no doubt about it. We don't deny that. You will get. So, as you get the rewards, the work done is, say, you've exhausted yourself completely. Say 90% of you've put an effort in the whole day worshipping that deity. Fine, good. But you are not going to get a reward that is infinite in extent. 90%, you get 90% reward. As you put in input, so much is output. So when you get that reward, maybe in this plane of existence or any other plane of existence, that reward will one day get exhausted. It is found in some people who who win the lotteries, and they go on a spending spree, and after some time, what happened? All that money is gone. Hey, what happened? There was a time when I was rich. Oh yeah, there was a time. The same thing with rewards, worship. You worshipped, you've done all these things, you've gotten your rewards, but they are going to get exhausted. And when they get exhausted, you've got to come back to square one. That's what he says, they fall. You've got to take it in this. I say, I was walking down the street and I fell down. Yeah. The next verse is, devotees of the gods reach the gods. The devotees of the manis go to the manis. The worshippers of different beings go to the different beings. And those who worship me reach me. As simple as that. As you think, so shall you become. That's a great, you can say, truth, articulated by even Buddha. Yeah, you think, yes. So if you think low things, your mind will become low and you will associate with such people only. If you think high things, you will associate with higher things only. The quality of your mind will change according to your thought. And this is important. You are the author of your own destiny. As you think, so shall you become. As you will think, so shall you be. Exactly like this. So if you're going to worship all the other gods in a kind of, provisionally, we want instant gratification. You're going to worship with this god and that god and this god and that god. You have multiple choices. That god, I think he does. That's the god without ears. I won't go. Let's go there. In that temple, that's a god, better god. Then you find that god also has got no ears. Nobody listening to my prayers. You keep on persisting. Okay, fine, all right. So, as your prayers are for those various deities, like remember that definition of Henotheism, the existence of the Supreme God as also the acknowledgement of the existence of other gods. But properly in Indian metaphysics, it is that Supreme God is also embodied in those other gods. So you worship it. You're worshipping them not by singling them out. Even if you worship them with the idea that they represent the Supreme Being, then you are right. And in the Vedas, we have this idea. Agni, or Vasus, or Rudras, all these various gods are spoken about. And they're taken up and made the Supreme Godhead. How many Supreme Godheads do you have? They heap on qualities and qualities and qualities. So even they will worship a stone symbol of God, the Shivalinga. Oh God, you are infinite. You are all-knowing. They are not praying to that stone symbol saying that you are infinite, you are all-knowing, you are compassion, you are kindness, you are help me. No. That's a problem. That is idolatry. And every worship of every form as the reality itself is idolatry. And that's why they say, oh, those Hindus idolaters. No, we actually are not idolaters. You are actually idolaters. We, after the worship, will take that deity and chuck it out in the ocean. Yeah. We don't know. It's symbol. It's a symbol of the infinite. So if these gods are taken as symbols of the infinite, then it's okay. Then you approach it. This is called pratika and pratima worship. Prati, going towards. You're going towards the infinite, not going towards that particular god or goddess or symbol. And that is how we approach the infinite. People say, oh, you have to think, you have to discard all the other gods and goddesses and this and that and find who am I and who am I. I've never found such a stupid... It's meant for the elite, not meant for everybody. Who am I? You're worshipping your own ego. Don't do that. Better to worship a deity, a symbol, than to worship your own ego. And you can't even conceptualize your ego. You can. And how do you conceptualize? The body. Your body, yeah. You become even a bigger idolater. So it has to be... the problem is, people with a little kind of, they've read a little here, they've heard a little here, and they've done something, and then they keep on having some muddled ideas, and which actually is detrimental because it bars future progress. So they say that's why they say it's better to have a symbol of God and worship that, superimposing the ideas of omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, etc. Nobody is worshipping a stone or nobody is worshipping an idol. So much for idolatry. Yeah. You've got to clarify certain things. Yeah. So those who worship those gods only for the sake of those gods, they go to those gods. Obviously, you've been thinking of God, and then what happens? You will go to them. Because the last thought before leaving the body will direct your subtle body to that particular place. So be careful. What do you think? Okay. I'll think at the last moment, I will think, no, you got to practice it now. Otherwise, you're going to get into big trouble. So Yanti, they go. The devotees of the particular gods go to those gods. The devotees of these manis, those who worship these ancestral spirits, and lot of many parts of the old religions were ancestor worship. It began with ancestor worship. You're fine, everything is fine. You're sitting in a cave with the fire kind of burning bright, and everything is comfortable. Suddenly, somebody in amongst the group dies, and then you wonder, where's this guy gone? And they were kind of confused. He was just here. And then, the burial rituals and this and that, they became part of a religion. Saying, no, they don't go anywhere. And that's why the earliest idea of a soul was the idea of a double. This guy is gone off. Okay, entomb the guy. He used to like horses and he liked the swords. Put those horses and swords inside and put those beads, put those jewelry and keep them there. The double will go around. And higher, we came to higher and higher concepts. We gave up those old ancestral forms of ancestor worship. So the people still cling to them. So people go there and you do the worship. Yeah, you'll go there. So in Hinduism, we also have something, a separate heaven called Pitri Loka, the heavens of the fathers, ancestors. You go there. So those guys who worship them will go there. Okay. There are those various other lesser beings. There are various yakshas, rakshasas, siddhas, kinnaras. It's teeming out there at various levels. If you worship them, you'll go there. That's the idea. My devotees who worship me, the Supreme Godhead, that consciousness, they come to me. This is what it is. As simple as that. And this is wonderful, isn't it? Because the commentator says, the amount of effort that you are doing in worshipping the same God is the same if you can worship that Supreme God. You just need a change of perspective. You change your perspective, change your knowledge, change your vision, the effort is the same. So that is the worship of the Supreme Being. And when you worship the Supreme Being, you can worship all of the gods. Everything. Saying, okay, so when you pour the oblations in the Supreme Being, that oblations will go to all the gods and the goddesses and all the beings and all the manis and all the humans. You notice something? That a place where sacrifices have been performed, sometimes for thousands of years, that place itself becomes kind of surcharged with this. So what do these guys do? They keep on chanting these mantras, foreign sounding mantras, and they keep on throwing this ghee inside. And what's a waste of time, ghee and milk, and waste of effort and this and that. They don't realize that this result goes to the whole universe. Why? Because this is an emulation of the primeval sacrifice that God Himself did. God created this universe through a sacrifice. So the whole universe has emerged from that yajna. And in doing this yajna, you are replicating that kind of, it's a remembrance of what exactly is everything. So if everything is connected, your sacrifice is connected to everything. You help the world. Isn't it wonderful? Yeah. That's why he's saying, I am the Lord and the experience of all the sacrifices. My votaries, my devotees will come to me. They will reach the supreme goal. Those who want a little fun and laughter and joy and this and that and all, they will go and then they will come back again. So we've seen it in the other. Shipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karma. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. So this is today's, you can say, message for all of us. Yeah. Om, peace, peace, peace. All the pranams and all the thank yous, okay. Pantheism seems to be a form of monism. The divine is equal to the universe, is the all and all. Yeah. Pan means all. Theism is the worship or the belief. As I said, theos, Dios, Dios, Devas. So that's an old thing. The worship. So only in Advaita Vedanta, when you're talking of pantheism, it will be a form of monism. In monism, there is only one, and everything else is an appearance. Okay. So there are technical, you can say, explanations in regarding pantheism as monism. Theologically, you can't. Pantheism is pantheism. Okay. So there, the divine completely exhausts itself in this manifold world. But in the Vedas and in the Vedanta, no, we have a transcendent aspect. It's not just immanent. It's a transcendent aspect that also monism speaks about. I want bread now. Hey, have your bread. Have your cake. Eat it. See, you need to ask questions related to this, okay, the topic today. So you put your questions about mantras when we have the mantra class. Okay, many gods can be seen as different aspects of the one supreme God. Very good, very interesting, very interesting. Okay, yeah. Sainam, okay. I think, for example, the many gods in Hinduism have specific aspects which are established compared with just making up a god of oneself. Being a god, you worship the gods, as I say. The idea of worshipping God, the central idea of a worship is Devo Bhutva Devam Yajit. You be a god to worship. You can be a human and worship God. Yeah, kind of. You've got to awaken your own Godhead, the divinity within you, and then you can worship God. That's the central idea of a puja. When you see puja being done, that person now is not a human being. Technically, I'm talking about. So, if you do it in the proper spirit, when Sri Ramakrishna used to worship as a priest, saying people used to get frightened to even enter the temple during worship. It seemed like as if Vishnu himself, the supreme God, is worshipping that Kali. So it was like that. So you've got to be a god to worship a god. Okay. Could you describe how the creation of the universe was a sacrifice? Oh, this is the great Purusha Sukta, one of the most ancient and most, you can say, highly esoteric and elevating hymn in the Vedas, the Rig Veda. Purusha Suktam, the hymn on the cosmic person. You can get it on the internet or anywhere. I guess I'm looking for one that resonates with me like Satyamayananda. Oh, does it? Okay, thanks. Okay. Thank you very much. Om, peace, peace, peace.